What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is the only sports podcast. I'm Will. That's Casino over there.
Howdy
How are we
doodly.
doing today, Casino?
We're doing things. We're doing things. I hit a point of exhaustion last night after I finished my shift at work. I was closing out the drawer and everything in the office and doing all the paperwork. I fell asleep.
At work?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
How does that happen?
I don't know.
Like at the desk?
Yeah, at the desk. Like everything's locked up, front door's locked, side door's locked, lights are all off. I was doing paperwork, just me at the place. And yeah, I fell asleep.
I mean, stripping does that to you. Most people don't know this, but that's what Casino's job is. He actually walked away from the computer, so...
And this just in, I just locked the wife in the bedroom on accident.
Whoa, kinky.
Yeah, it is.
Locked her in what?
Just the bedroom. Oops. We have these childproof ones. So we have like the actual latches, not the knobs. So we have like these little bars that come over the latchy. And well, whatever. Lever, whatever. And yeah, now she's mad. She's correcting me. And yeah, I was just in there to get the TV stuff, and out of habit, I came out and I locked her in. That was great.
Speaking of
but
great,
yes, I did fall asleep.
Casino.
I did fall asleep at work, and it was grand. I'm surprised I woke up.
Well, we are glad you are here. But also, I think you can be forgiven because you have a new child. So,
yeah, and
that
then
like new kid exhaustion, it just hits different.
Oh yeah, and it does, and he's been cluster feeding lately. Luckily, the last
On
night
you or her?
Yeah, there it is. You can milk a cat, you can milk anything, right? Yeah. And then the reason we didn't have a second podcast episode last week is because my daughter fell. I did not beat her. She did fall, and she broke her clavicle, aka collarbone.
Jesus.
She's fine. It was a hairline. It wasn't clean through. It wasn't displaced. She's okay. She's over there yelling at mom. So everything's all good. She's just in a sling for the next 4 weeks, and it should be healed in 6 weeks. The doctor just said no more Michaela's jumping on the bed.
Yeah.
That's all he said.
I get it. Like the song. Casino, like the song.
Yeah.
The monkey song.
Okay. Wait, there's a song?
Yeah. Okay. But I'll tell you what, personal life, you're exhausted, your child's injured. I got shit going on over here, but in the football world, what a week for you and I. I mean, let's start before we get into the topics. Your Patriots, Casino, you reverse jinxed them in the pick.
I don't know.
Do your victory lap, because this was
I don't want to get up.
Do your verbal victory lap.
That was me running so fast. That was the wind behind me.
But how good did it feel? How long did your boner
honestly,
last? Did you have to?
It was great, but I hated it at the same time. I was just laughing about it the entire time. The fact that they won, because I'm wanting to tank because I want a better quarterback. We finally got some pieces back in defense. They did well, but I didn't. Shout out to my boy Victor here. I did put in our Patriot group chat. I was like, when we were up 2 touchdowns, I was like, they're gonna blow this, and sure enough, they came very close to doing so. Very, very close.
Yeah,
and that made me smile because I thought I called it. But
yeah. But I will say our picks this week, a little rough from the standpoint.
I think it was a little rough for everybody. This season of football is quite wonky.
Dude, it is hard to pick games. I mean, you had that one stellar week where you picked
that 13 winner. 13.
Yeah, I don't think
I've
and
got
then
it I've
we
got it marked. I know.
also and then we had 1 week where we both went for 10, but other than that, we have had a bunch of weeks of 8, and this is actually our worst week on the books. We
Oof.
only got,
So
let's
one would say we
see,
did not cook the books.
no books were cooked unless we overcooked them, and now you can't even tell they are a book because so I had 5 a week
Oh
where
god,
I
did I have
picked
4?
no, you had a week where you picked 6 correctly, and we would have been 6 and 6, but I reverse jinxed the Eagles, and it worked out perfectly because I would rather a dominating performance than
Ah,
lose a pick. But yeah, just this week alone, 49ers lose. Let's see, Bills lose, Lions lose, Commanders lose. That felt like also a layup pick. Those are all the picks we had similar that just did not pan out. But Casino, are you ready to dive into the topics of the week?
yes, sure.
Would you rather
Sure.
go 1 to 5 or 5 to 1?
Ooh, 1 to 5. Let's get the bulk out of the way first.
Yeah, let's get the good stuff out of the way. And speaking
I
of
don't know if
good
it's the good
stuff,
stuff. Let's just the bulk stuff. Just get it out of the way.
this is the so I have 5 topics of the week, Casino, that I thought were topical for this week specifically. And the first topic is we're going to talk about a lot of those good teams that either won or lost. So my question is anyone good? Is there literally an elite team heading into week 8? We have the contenders and the games we're going to talk about:
Don't
Lions,
know.
Ravens,
I don't know.
Chiefs, Chiefs, Bills, Niners, Jaguars. Are any of those teams good? Any of them elite?
Oh man. Sure, we would go them all. You have Lions on here twice.
I know because it was supposed to be Chiefs Chargers, but I did a typo. But let's talk about the biggest probably hit to the casino cred, which is a new term I'm
A new
coining for this
time.
podcast. Uh,
Goodness gracious.
the casino cred took a giant hit with your Super Bowl pick, Detroit Lions, just
Getting
getting
routed.
and that is an understatement. I mean, just the blowout of all blowouts, 38-6. How does this happen, Casino? Are the Ravens that good, or was it just an off week for the Lions?
No, see, we know that the Ravens are good. We've talked about the Ravens being good. They've got some health back to them. Their run game is absolutely phenomenal. And here she comes to wreck the deck. Okay. And as for those viewers who aren't watching, I'm just being smacked in the face with a remote control. All right, I'll let you continue first while I get makeup on TV.
Yeah. So yeah, let's go through this. Let's go through this Ravens Lions game right here. Lamar Jackson,
Hold
21.
on. As soon as I hit the mute button, she starts whispering. Like, are you kidding me?
um, but Lamar Jackson, 21 for 27, 357 yards, 3 touchdowns. Also had 9 carries, 36 yards, 1 touchdown running as well. So a 4 touchdown performance. Lions, on the other hand, Goff didn't have a bad day, didn't have a good day. He kind of just, but again, we talked about this last week. I can't remember what game we mentioned it on, but just 53 pass attempts. Now, obviously, it's that high because they were pretty much trying to play catch up the entire game. Running the ball, they went for 68 yards. Ross St. Brown had 13 receptions, 102 yards, but
Right. I really
this,
think not having Montgomery in there really hurt them.
yeah.
I think that was a big portion of their game. As soon as he got hurt last week, I was like, "Ew, this is going to be bad." No, the Ravens are legit. I've never doubted how good the Ravens were. I doubted how bad the Steelers were. but Lamar Jackson had a stellar passing game. This is his best passing game that I can remember, like recall, like
Yeah.
over 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, 21 for 27, absolutely out of this world.
Well, we also give this Detroit Lions defense a lot of credit with, especially when they were able to contain Mahomes and what they've done in the
Well,
past couple weeks. But in this game, it didn't feel like Lamar Jackson was under pressure, literally
I,
any drop back.
no, and you know what, and that might just be a one off because I do truly think that this Lions defense it's not you know the top three defense in the league, but they have definitely gotten better since last year. I know you already have it pulled up. Where are they at defense right now? Before going into this game, I guess. Um,
Before going into this game, I do not have it, but after this game, through week 7, the Ravens in total defense are number 2 in the league.
okay, what about
So,
Lions? I mean,
or Lions in this after this game are still 11th in the league, but I
yeah. So
believe
I think
last
they were
week
I
they were
think they
like,
were 10th
yeah.
last week. So I mean, they're still a good defense. This could be just a one off. This was just a Lamar Jackson game. He had an absolute stellar game, man.
But
Um,
see, the most impressive thing, so the Browns are still the number 1 defense in the league,
I
even
love them.
they because
They're
they were
so good.
so far ahead even after this Colts game.
Right.
The Ravens still couldn't catch up. But the main difference between all these teams, especially in the top 10, the Ravens are by far the team that has allowed the least amount of touchdowns. They've only allowed on defense 7 touchdowns. The closest to them would be the 49ers, who are the 8th total defense, who have allowed 10. So they've allowed 3 less touchdowns than the closest defense to them. And I mean, even the Browns have allowed double the amount of touchdowns as the Ravens. So
What a
that
game that
Ravens
was. Oof.
defense, just talk about bend don't break, because they'll give up they're averaging against them 271 yards a game, but again, they just don't give up touchdowns, only 7. Like that's
Yeah.
crazy.
That's
But
yeah, they're stellar.
also with how this season has gone, there's been a new favorite every week, right? Like
Yeah.
every week a
There's a new
new team
favorite
gets
to win the
hyped
Super
up.
Bowl. Yeah,
Yeah, and this week it's the Ravens.
it's the Ravens.
So for who they're playing next week, Casino, do you want to take a guess?
I honestly I don't know who they're playing. No, I don't. The Chargers. I don't know.
So they're playing the Cardinals, who have already played this role of Dallas going into that game with the
There you go.
Cardinals. It was like, Dallas is the best team in the league. They're so great. They're so great. They're shutting everybody out. And then they lose to the Cardinals. Chances the Cardinals do it again and beat this Ravens team coming off a week of everyone hyping up the Ravens as the
Not
best
at
team in
all.
the NFL.
0. None.
0
And
is
if
insane.
it no, and if it happens, I am done calling picks. You just automatically win for the rest of the season.
Let me write that
So
down.
who is good? Who is good? Who is elite? Is blah blah blah. I don't know if there's any elite teams really out there. I think there's just a lot of really good teams because like even like the Chiefs, they have struggled. Outside of Kelsey, they've struggled. So going off that list with this, we're talking about the Lions, Ravens right now. Both really good teams. I think the Lions defense just had a little bit of a oof kind of day, and Goff just had struggle against this awesome number 2 defense in the league, Ravens, and Lamar Jackson just absolutely went off. He had one of his best passing games of his career. So that's where I'm at with that. I just think they're both good teams, and Ravens just routed them. It just happens sometimes.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with them. So moving on, let's go to the Chiefs and Chargers. Oh
Ugh.
man,
Can we
I'm
finally stop trying to act like the Chargers are ever going to be a thing?
no,
Can
yeah,
we
I'm
just
done.
stop?
The Chargers themselves are bad. I will have a take though on Herbert. Herbert has no help. Like it's almost like the Justin Fields thing, where I think Herbert's actually a decent quarterback, but the Chargers are the worst place for him. The Chargers are horrible. I mean, Philip Rivers, even man, I like Philip Rivers. I feel like this is kind of the same situation. Herbert needs out of there. I know he didn't have the best day. He actually had a really bad day, but The only bit of success that this Chargers team has that is through Justin Herbert. Like their run game, nothing. Like I I just they're not that good of a good of a team. Chargers are their yeah, Justin Herbert is their only real player, in my opinion.
I'm going to do the opposite where I am so over the Justin Herbert hype, the Justin Herbert just like every guy who is quote unquote a football expert will not stop giving blowjobs to Justin Herbert and just be like, no, 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 you don't understand. He doesn't have this, he doesn't have that. He's actually the best. And it's just like he never wins, but then it's just like all excuses. And then Brock Purdy has one bad game against the best defense in the league. And then last night had a rough game against a Vikings team that also was lighting up their defense. And it's just like, oh yeah, he won 22 straight games, but this was where he got exposed. It's like it takes one game for Brock Purdy to be like, see, this is what we taught. This is what we thought he was, just like overrated. It's all the Kyle Shanahan system. We got to blow Kyle Shanahan because he also has done nothing. So it's just like Justin Herbert, no matter what he does, he can have the worst game of his career. And it's just like, he doesn't have help. It's his head coach. It's this, it's that. It's like, you got to wait till the next game. And then Brock Purdy has one bad game. And it's like, oh yeah, he's a bust. Why is he still on the 49ers? Trade for fucking literally anybody else. And Kyle Shanahan will turn the fucking cart guy from Target into an all elite passer. And it's just like, I'm 100% out on Justin Herbert. I don't give a shit. I can just keep being told he's this amazing quarterback, except when you watch games and spits on my lip. Except when you watch games and then he throws two interceptions in this one. He doesn't even give them a fighting chance in all these other games. And then it's just like, well, I mean, what are you going to do? It's like, and then it's just like excuse after excuse. I'm over the Herbert hype. I'm done. I'm done.
Let me
I'm
ask
done
you
with
this.
The Chargers.
Let me ask you this. So you're over the
2-4.
Herbert hype. Okay. Okay. I get it. I get it. Okay. You're over the Herbert hype.
Yes.
Are you over the Sherbert hype?
I've actually never liked Sherbert.
What?
Sherbert, Herbert, I'm off both. I'm off both bandwagons. You can't get me on. But that being said, Casino, if the Chiefs and Ravens played right now, let's just say it's never going to happen, but it would be on a neutral field. You're taking Ravens.
I am.
Okay. I do think if you just go through all the AFC teams, especially the ones like leading their divisions, you have Jacksonville, Miami, Baltimore, and then the Chiefs we just talked about. The Jacksonville, I don't think they've beaten the Chiefs with Mahomes. Isn't he like 3-0 against the Jaguars or something like that? But the Ravens really do feel like the team where it's just like when they play the Chiefs, I feel like they have the best shot to beat them. Obviously over
right, because really all the Chiefs have right now, I mean, they have a struggling number 2, no struggling number 3 wide receivers. Like their receiving core is not the best of the best out there. They're good, but they're not the best of the best. But that's why Travis Kelce is they're only good as Travis Kelce is having a good game.
Yeah. Well, and then
I'm going to put my daughter down for a nap, so continue on that.
Yeah. Apparently every game Taylor Swift goes to, it like doubles the production of Travis Kelce, which is just one of those weird stats where you're like, how is this possible? But in terms of the Chiefs, the Chiefs and Jags did play earlier in this season. The Chiefs beat the Jags. So they lost by 1 to the Lions. Then they have beaten the Jaguars, which is an impressive win. So they've beaten the Bears and the Jets, which as an Eagles fan beat that Jets team. I mean, that was probably one of Mahomes' worst games, and they still squeaked it out. So props to them. They beat the Vikings team we'll talk about. And then they beat the Broncos and Chargers. So they play the Broncos again. So they're going to be 7-1. I don't think there's a snowball's chance in hell. I will say 0% that this Broncos team beats this Chiefs team. And then they get in a stretch where I guess it's a little dicey, but again, not really. Like they play the Dolphins, who we just saw, and we're going to talk about when Casino gets back. Then they play the Eagles, which should be a great game. And then they play Raiders, Packers, Bills, Patriots, Raiders, Bengals, Chargers. So out of those games, I mean, what? They might lose potentially the Bengals, the Bills, the Eagles and Dolphins. I don't think there's a chance they lose any of the other games unless it's a weird fluky one. So at this moment, like I mean, the Chiefs are 6-1, the Ravens are 5-2, and when it comes to the Chiefs schedule, it besides the Dolphins, Eagles, and maybe Bills Bengals games, like they should go undefeated for the rest of the season, unless again they have that fluky once a year like game they lose, like they lost to the Colts last year, where you're like, how the fuck did the Colts beat the Chiefs? But besides that, Casino, I mean, when it comes to the Ravens schedule, they have obviously a way tougher division than what the Chiefs have to deal with, where I don't think they have a chance to lose any of the games in their division. So they're going to go undefeated. Ravens go against Cardinals, Seahawks, Browns, Bengals, Chargers, Rams, Jaguars, 49ers, Dolphins, Steelers. Like that is a murderer's row.
Yeah, that's pretty tough. As you can see, I've got one child here
I
doing the
thought
whole
that was a
thing here.
baby doll. Jesus. I
No,
thought you
no,
were
this
gonna do a
is
bit. That's a real live baby right there.
this is a real
Uh
life baby.
but
Today he's 6 weeks old. Yay.
dang. Congrats, little baby. Congrats on being six weeks old. Speaking of 6 weeks old, Casino, there's no transition there. Next up, let's we touched on your Bills Patriots. We touched
Meh.
on the Patriots side. From what you saw in that game from the Bills, do you think they are overrated, underrated, or just had a bad game?
Overrated. I
And why
still
do you say that?
because you can't just have too many bad games at a time. Like you get a couple. I mean, we're not even halfway through the season here, and you've had 3 bad games. Like, no, like you're too up and down. I don't like they're overrated. Are they a good team when they're firing on all cylinders? They're the best team in the league. Like they're so good and they have so much talent, but for some reason they just like forget how to play football every other week.
Yeah. I
And
think
and like they'll play good against good teams. They'll play really good against good teams. I mean, look what they did to the
the Dolphins.
yeah, thank you. Look what they did to the Dolphins, which we'll get to them by the way. But the Bills are good, but again, they're not elite. I don't feel like there's an elite team out there. I hope you didn't say the Chiefs are elite because I don't think they are. I missed that segment.
I think the Chiefs are elite just
Boo.
from what we've seen this
Boo.
season and what
Travis
we've
Kelsey's
seen in
elite.
the past.
No, Travis Kelsey's elite. That and Mahomes is elite. That's it.
I mean, their
Boo.
defense, well, we also talked, I mean, they
Boo.
played their schedule is very suspect going forward. So I don't think they're really going to they have like 4 tough games remaining and we're only in week 8. So again, I do think they're a product of their schedule, but what team isn't? I mean, the Eagles got to the Super Bowl last year from having a cupcake schedule. So why the Chiefs also got a cupcake schedule after winning the Super Bowl, I don't understand. But again, they're the league's favorite
Why did
team.
the Patriots get the hardest schedule when they didn't make the playoffs? Anyway,
But so
moving on.
when it comes to the Bills, we'll just take out week 1 for just across the board for every team. It doesn't matter, who cares. But then it goes to they blew out the Raiders and the Commanders, 2 teams that look like two in contention for 2 of the worst teams in the league, right?
Yeah, but
We'll
yet they
get to the
beat the Patriots
Commanders.
and the Patriots beat the Bills. Like,
Yeah. Well, then
what
also
football doesn't make sense.
we forget on Sunday night last week, the Giants probably should have beaten them if the refs would have called a pass interference when pass interference clearly happened. So they almost lost to the Giants last
What
week.
is a rule?
What is a penalty?
What
We'll
is a
get
penalty?
to. Yeah.
That's a whole segment, fellas.
It's a
and
whole
ladies.
segment. Then they blew out the Dolphins. They lost the next week to the Jaguars, almost lost to the Giants, and then just lost to the Patriots. So, and then they're right up. I mean, we're recording this on Tuesday. 2 days from now, they have to play the Buccaneers, and if the Buccaneers beat them, I wouldn't be shocked. Like, I don't think anybody would be. Like, I do think the Bills are kind of slipping out of that good category into, like you said, like a team where they could pretend they're going to blow out the bad teams, and then when they play the good teams, like it's going to be close, and then they're probably going to lose at the end. Like, who knows? But last team I wanted to talk about, all the way back on last Thursday, Casino, the Jaguars and the Saints.
Oh,
How
we didn't talk about the Niners.
well, because that is oh, I skipped right over that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you did.
you're right. Well, then
Whoa,
let's
whoa, whoa! You
go.
wrote this out, and you don't
I
even know the
did.
plan.
Well, let's go Thursday and then we'll talk
All right.
Mondays. So with Thursday, the Jaguars beat the Saints. I don't have it pulled up here. The Jaguars beat the Saints. How legit do you think the Jaguars are? And they
I
won
think they're
31 to
starting to
24.
stride. I think they're starting to stride to where we thought they would be at the beginning of the season.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
agree.
it, yeah. I mean, they lost what? So the beginning of the season, they had an oops against the Texans. Yeah, that was week 3, but again, it's beginning of the season. Um, but they barely lost to the Chiefs. They routed the Falcons, who are, in my opinion, a good team. We'll get to that segment here coming up. And then the Jaguars beat the Bills the following week. Then they destroy the Colts. So they played the Colts twice, and they did what they're supposed to do with those two teams. And then they beat a Saints team that is, yeah. And yeah, I like this Jags team. I really think now they're hitting their stride, and yeah, Lawrence is feeling good about it. I like it.
I think the Jags are going to be wrongly overhyped as a legit team when they're all smoke and mirrors. Guess what this is my hot
Ooh.
take. Guess what their pass defense is in the league right now?
31st.
You nailed it right on the head. They
Boom.
are 31st. Were you looking it up?
No, I'm not. I
Oh,
was just
damn.
I
So
was gonna
you
say
pulled
30
that.
second. I was 32nd, but I'm like, it's not gonna be the 32nd. Let's go with the 31st.
That was a great pull out of your hat right there, because they are 31st in the league in pass defense. So let's see. We just talked about elite teams in the AFC. Do the Ravens have a good passing attack? Do the Chiefs have a good passing attack? Do the Dolphins have a
Well,
good
the
passing
Chiefs do.
attack?
You kidding me?
Well, that's what I'm saying. All three of the contenders that you would put right there with this Jaguars team in the AFC have elite passing offenses. So when it comes playoff time and you're playing the Jaguars pass defense that is second worst in the league, only behind the Chargers, how did the Chargers just fare against the Chiefs? Oh, they got blown out by 3 touchdowns. Like, this Jaguars
Yeah,
team,
and the
this
Jaguars
offense.
only lost by 8 to the Chiefs earlier. Like, I,
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
your math
Like,
ain't mathing. Like,
well,
no, so the Chiefs should have won by like four touchdowns against the Jags.
yeah, but I'm saying from what we've seen from this Jaguars team, their offense has been kind of anemic, and it's kind of like hot or cold. Even against that Saints team, it was only 1 touchdown. Trevor Lawrence had less than 100 yards. And then when they do play,
Kind of anemic. 37, 31, 25,
but that's not their
23,
passing attack.
31.
That's not their
No,
passing
you said
attack.
offense though.
I mean, their offense has looked anemic, has it not? Their offense in this game, their leading rusher was Trevor Lawrence with 59 yards, and they passed for 204 yards. Yeah, they got 31 points, but it was also because they got a fumble. I think that didn't they have a fumble recovery or
Okay, so some of
a
that
pick
defense is doing what
six?
they're supposed to
Like,
do.
yeah, but again, it's against the Saints. It's against
Yeah,
the Saints that are
so
now 3-4. Like, I don't think the Saints are a good team. So again, like, they won by 1 touchdown
okay,
against a bad
they
team.
might not be a good okay, but still, you're saying okay, so they're 31st, 31st in passing defense, right?
Yes.
Okay, the Saints aren't a good team. Fine. But if you're 31st, you're not making those plays. You're not making pick sixes.
Yeah, but also that's Derek Carr. Derek Carr is he's pick six king. Did you see also speaking of, did you see that video that went viral after this game where he threw the deep pass like 10 yards out of bounds and then is like screaming at his wide receiver, like freaking out on him as if it was like a catchable ball or something like that? And even the announcers were like, why is Derek Carr so mad at his receiver who literally had like it wasn't even a debate of if it was a catchable ball. He
All
threw
right,
it
all
like
right.
10
Well, so
yards
now
into the
now so you're
stands.
calling them frauds. I'm saying they're not frauds.
Yeah.
So
I don't
that
think, I mean, I think their record right now, there are, what did I just say? They're 5-2 in the AFC
you're
South.
calling them
So
frauds. I'm calling them not frauds. We got too many things to hit. We'll move on from here. All right, now
they're
let's go
going
to
to
the
win the
Monday.
AFC South. I
Oh,
think
they're gonna
they,
walk through the AFC South.
yeah,
So
I don't think they win a playoff game. That's if especially if they go against the Dolphins, Chiefs, or Ravens in the first round, it's done. It's
okay,
over.
sure. We'll go with that.
Bet on it. Bet on it.
If are you betting on it? Because if you're gonna bet on it, then I'm gonna bet on it.
Yes, we're betting on it. What do you want
Okay,
to
what are
bet?
we doing then?
We'll think
Side
of
bet.
it. It's only week
No,
7.
no, 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 no. I want to know now. No,
Um
you're right. Too much workshop. We got to think about it.
yeah.
Niners
Uh
Vikings. Um,
so I watched every snap of this game. This game was entertaining as all hell.
dude, the
Obviously,
amount
as
of
an Eagles
turnovers
fan.
in this game was like it was insane. It was just like to start the game with turnover, change of possession, turnover, change of possession, like wild, absolutely wild.
Well, especially when the Vikings, because this whole season, the Vikings have just been fumble prone. And then Niners immediately get the interception, and you're just like, oh no, this is going to be one of those games. And then McCaffrey just coughs it up. Vikings get it back. But the play where I was just like, okay, because it was going into half, I believe it was 14-10 going into halftime. And it was just like, okay, maybe, it's starting to turn. And then Kirk Cousins throws a one-on-one ball to the
It wasn't
uh
14-10.
going into halftime. What was it going into halftime? It was
7-16.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. It was 7 to yes, no, this is right. It was 7-10 going into halftime, and then the Vikings wide receiver
Really?
caught the ball, yanked it out of the 49ers defender's hands, ran for a touchdown. The crowd's going absolutely nuts, and then he misses an extra point, and I was
Okay,
just
well that
like,
doesn't make sense. So I'm looking at it right here. Niners got a touchdown. They didn't score anything in the first. They got a touchdown in the second, so 7 points. Minnesota was a touchdown, and then they had 7 points in the first and 9 in the second. Like, I don't. What are you looking at? What am I looking at?
they had it was going into halftime, it was 10-7, or it
How?
was I
Oh,
just it was 10-7 because the and then it would have been a 10-point game, but it was a 9-point game at half because the Vikings guy missed an extra point. So it was the Vikings scored 7 and then a field goal and then another touchdown and missed an extra point.
oh. So going into half, I was okay. Going into half, it was 16-7, but
Yeah.
coming up to the halftime. Okay, see that's where you're confusing me. You should correct. Use it. Correct that. Correct that. You said going into halftime. No,
Yeah,
no, no,
I
no.
said about to go into halftime,
No, you
and
said
then
going
they
into halftime.
scored the
So
touchdown.
throw challenge flag, challenge flag, challenge
Ugh.
flag. We'll rehear it.
I mean,
Anyway,
did you watch the game?
I
Because I
did.
just explained what was happening in the
Man,
game.
we're getting spicy with each other today.
I
This
don't
is
know
good.
what your confusion is. Uh, so Casino, I don't know, just had a mental moment
A
there
stroke.
where, yeah. So going into halftime, the Vikings wide receiver rips it out of the 49ers hands, scores a touchdown, missed the extra point. And when that happened, I was like, this is a 9-point game, which means this game is going to end where the 49ers kick a field goal and they win by 1, and then everybody's going to be like, "Oh, I knew it. I knew it when he missed that extra point." And then at the end, the 49ers are driving down and it's like the Vikings miss a field goal and then the 49ers get the ball back, and I was like, that one fucking point is going to fuck them so hard. And then I was like doing the math and I was like, "Wait, this is a 5-point game." How, like, I hate how, again, you just got confused by the numbers. When they were going down to score a touchdown, I was just like freaking out because I was like, "Oh, they're going to get a touchdown and win by 1." And then I was like, "Wait, they'd win by 2." And then I was like trying to do the math in my head, but still, we're getting bogged down in the stupidest argument for this game, Casino. Uh,
It's
what
what the
did you
fans
think?
want. It's what the fans want.
So, coming into this game, the 49ers lost just a game that, when we're going to talk about the Browns Colts game, you scratch your head and you're like, how could this 49ers offense not move the ball against that Browns defense? And then you look at this game and it really makes you go, how were the 49ers or how are the Vikings able to move the ball so easily against this 49ers defense without their number one wide receiver? Like, people kept being like, "Oh, the 49ers didn't have Debo Samuel, didn't have Debo Samuel." That's half the games the 49ers play every season. They don't have Debo Samuel. The Vikings, on the other hand, have no Justin Jefferson. Hawkinson felt like he got, every time he got hit, he was hurt and
Dude,
out for 3
every time I
plays.
watched Hawkinson get hit, I was just like,
And then
ugh.
there was that one, I think it was in like the third quarter where he got rolled up on in the back. And then I was
Mhm.
like, okay, now he's finally going to be out of the game. And then he was in there like 3 plays later. So, I mean, props to him because every hit he took just looked brutal. Like, he was like down on the ground, holding his arm, holding his leg. And I was like, he's done. He's out. And then he'd be right back in there.
So
So, when it comes to this 49ers team, Casino, what do you think they are now after two straight losses?
I still think they're a good team. What they need to figure out now is how to play with a banged up McCaffrey and without Debo Samuel. And I think they'll be able to do that. I know you hate Shanahan. I'm not a big fan, but I know you hate him. But I'll think
I
they
just think
figure
he's
it out.
overrated.
Yeah, I think they'll figure it out. And for Brock Purdy, a lot of people are like, "Oh, he's a sham. He's a sham. He's a sham." No, he's not a sham. He's lost 2 regular season games going since last year. He's not a sham. I think he's a good quarterback still. And yes, he was missing his one of his security blankets, but I feel like Shanahan didn't have a whole lot for him outside of them, outside of Debo and McCaffrey. I mean, McCaffrey didn't have that good of a game. He only had 45 rushing yards on 15 attempts.
And
Like,
45 of it was on that, or I feel like 30 of it was on that one touchdown run he had. Like, where he just broke free and was just wide open.
right.
Like,
So, I mean, ooh, um, so like that doesn't help your passing offense. You know, we still got to know that like, Brock Purdy's still a rookie. Like he's still going to figure things out. But to be as good as he is right now, I'll take that all day. If I'm a Niners fan, yeah, he had a bad game. Okay, I'll take that all day to have Brock Purdy from where he came from as a rookie to be where he's at all day. I'll take that all day. So I'm
yeah.
not worried about the I'm not worried about the Niners at all. I'll be honest. You know, if this season's shown us anything, is the NFL. Anything can happen. We try to say this team's better than this team all the time, but they're still professionals that uh, they're going to be fine. And I will say this about Kirk Cousins: this may have been one of, if not his best, this may have been his best primetime game ever.
Maybe his
Uh,
best game ever. Like, I mean,
yeah, I
he
mean it was
was,
really good. He played
well,
really well. Let me ask you this. So now moving, talking, saying that this leads into this kind of a question. So Addison had a phenomenal game with Jefferson out. Do you think Kirk Cousins made Addison look good, or do you think Addison just played really fucking well?
I'll tell you what, I really think it was Kirk Cousins and just like the scheme they
I
dialed up or
agree. I
whatever
agree. I mean,
because
Addison still had to catch the balls. He still had to catch.
yeah.
But I think Kirk Cousins just balled out, man. I just think he balled out.
Well, and you're right when it comes to Purdy. He's only played in 16 games. So he
Yeah.
is technically
He's
a rookie
14 and
because he's
2
yeah, he hasn't played a full season of football yet unless you count, which I don't think you should, the playoff game where he got knocked out almost
in the first.
immediately.
Yeah.
So,
So
but
he's 14 and 2.
yeah.
Like,
Now, the
I'm
concerning part with Purdy does come down to last year, and this is the same concern I have with Jalen Hurts, and we'll get to that. But last year, all of the 9 games he played in,
This
he
segment's going
threw
way long. This is
he
segment 1.
he threw 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. This year already, he's thrown 3 interceptions, all 3 of them coming in the last 2 games. Now, the Browns interception was, again, I will give him some leeway in that game because the weather, it was just a weird game. The Browns defense, I still think is very legit, even though we'll get to them when they played the Colts. But the Vikings, I really don't think, and again, everybody's like, Purdy's a fraud, Purdy's a fraud. You just said it. That was the second game of his career he's ever lost. So I don't know why we immediately invalidate all the other ones he's won
Yeah, you know
when he
how
has
many
one
times
bad game.
the Hall of Famers have bad games? It happens.
But the 2 picks he threw, both of them were rough. I mean, that
No, no, they
second one
were.
to seal the game, the announcers, and they showed the replay. It was like Purdy's eyes literally did not leave the one wide receiver he was going to throw to. And then he threw it in basically
And
triple
and
coverage.
right there, that is fixable.
Yeah.
You
Well,
can work on that. It doesn't mean he's got a bad arm. It doesn't mean that he doesn't understand football. That's just, hey, check your options real quick. Check your
yeah.
options. Even if you want to go to this guy, don't make it obvious. Check other options first and then just go to your guy if you want to go to your guy and just hope for it. You
Yeah.
know, those are things that he can learn.
Also, when it comes to what is it? Kirk Cousins. I mean,
Mhm.
35 for 45, 378 yards, 2 touchdowns, that 1 interception on like basically the first play of the game. But after that 1 interception, he's not a mobile guy, but the
No, yeah,
way
he
he
had a he
was
had he had, he had a negative 1 yard in his rushing
yeah.
attempts. So
But that the way he was moving around in the pocket, and like there was that one play at the end of the game where the line literally collapses on him and everybody's like, oh, even the announcers were starting to say Kirk Cousins got sacked, and he literally just runs out of the front of it, keeps his eyes downfield, and completes like a first down for like 20 yards, and everybody was like, how the hell, like he just came out of the pile. And I'll tell you what, Kirk Cousins, that Netflix documentary, all his interviews, all the videos of him dancing or whatever, he's like an extremely likable guy that everyone is just dubbed as like
so
this,
so down to earth.
yeah, like this bad
He's
quarterback, and
so
then
he's
he
so
just
down to earth as heck.
but yeah, and you know what? We can stop the discussions now. Kirk Cousins in this league, with how many bad quarterbacks we see on a weekly basis, top 10 quarterback. I don't even think it's debatable at this point. There's not 10 guys you would take over Kirk Cousins. I don't. You can throw in all the bad primetime games. I see guys every Sunday have worse games than Kirk Cousins, but because it's on
As
a
I've always
Monday or
said,
Thursday
as I've
night,
always said, he's the best mediocre quarterback to ever play the game.
he's a top 10 quarterback. I like him. He's
Yeah. I mean, he may be 10 for his whole career, but he's the best mediocre quarterback you'll ever get.
yeah. And
Um,
I'd take him over Dak Prescott any day.
all
I
day.
don't know why this
I
is a
will.
discussion.
All day. So two things that I want to talk about and I mean, we're way behind. We got to start rolling here. But I
Yeah.
really liked the Addison Ward. I thought that was funny where like Ward got the interception like by ripping it out of Addison's arms, and then Addison got the touchdown by ripping it out of Ward's arms. Like that
Yeah.
was really funny. And then the other thing that I thought was really, it was just kind of impressive was when George Kittle got like rooted up underneath and he's like falling straight down on his head. And I thought he was going to like snap his neck, but yet he just puts his hands down. He does like Like he's falling, yet he's strong enough to he literally put his arm down and did like a push-up and stopped himself from like snapping his neck. And I was like, holy hell, I'm weak because this guy's literally falling out of the sky. And he was like, I'm just gonna do a push-up and not let my face touch the ground. I'm like, this is insane.
uh,
It was insane. It was like if Superman just came flying down and was just like, I'm just gonna like softly do a handstand push-up here.
I
Ugh.
do think last bit on the Niners. I think the only thing that would
Jeez.
concern me
Yeah,
is
we're
obviously
way behind.
we've seen them win without Debo, without McCaffrey, without George Kittle, and they were missing Trent Williams last night as well. So they know how to deal with injuries. I don't think they know how to deal with their defense not being elite. Because last night and last week when PJ Walker he didn't light him up, but he did enough to obviously win them the game.
Mhm.
Uh Last night was the first time where they didn't feel like an elite defense you should be scared of because and this will be the transition to the Dolphins and the Eagles game, but they were getting beat a lot on quick passes and screen passes. I mean, the Vikings, it felt like half their plays were screen passes that went for 10 to 15 yards a pop because that 49ers defense is so aggressive. Like you can beat them on screens.
Gotcha.
And one of the two best teams in the league when it comes to screens are the Dolphins and Eagles casino. And let's move to that game. Dolphins Eagles last night, or not last night, I'm sorry,
Here's the thing.
Sunday night.
I'm gonna I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm gonna go a little off book here because I know we're running out of time. Because I know this is gonna take up the rest of our time. I already know it is. So I'm gonna just jump real quick to number 4 on our list. Sneaky underdogs. We're just gonna name them off because we don't have time to really kind of go through this today. So I just want to hit them. We have Steelers, Rams, Seahawks, Cards, Falcons, Bucks. Steelers, I'm still over them. Rams, they're sneaky fun, but I don't think that they're underdogs. Under Chihuahuas, maybe? Yeah, but they're not pit bulls. I don't know. Seahawks, I like them. I think they're absolutely legit. I like Smith. He's resurrected his career. He's great. Cardinals suck. Um, Bucks, I think they're right there where the Rams are. They're sneaky fun to watch. Baker Mayfield, I think, has turned his career around a little bit because I actually enjoy watching his games. But Falcons, I do think that they're right there with the Seahawks as underdogs. Your take, just kind of going through those because I wanted to touch on that real quick.
Yeah, I think our Commanders in the playoffs pick is dead. I
Dead.
think potentially, especially at this moment, two playoff teams could come out of the NFC South. Two could come out of the NFC West. The Vikings, who we just talked about, have a pretty easy schedule for the next maybe 10 weeks. So they might be a sneaky team that in a weak NFC sneaks in as maybe the last wild card. They might even, I don't think they'll win that division, but they might surpass the Seahawks or Cowboys right now for that lead wild card spot. But yeah, I think when it comes to sneaky contenders, I think the Falcons would be my pick because I think when it comes to what wins as the year goes on, it's running game and defense, and they have the potential to
What are you
have
talking
the
about? Running
best.
game doesn't exist.
Well, yeah, but also I don't know. I still haven't been able to read anything about why Bijan Robinson was activated for the game and on the sidelines, but they never used him in the
Yeah,
game. It was like a weird, I don't know if it was an
mind
illness or a
play.
personal whatever, but yeah, and they still won that game without
Right.
him. I don't trust Ritter at all, but that's what I'm saying when it comes down to quarterbacks. I agree with you where Rams are sneaky. I just don't think they have any defense whatsoever, but I love their offense. Seahawks would probably be my second pick. And then who knows if the Vikings, if this was the spark that team needed, they could be
Maybe.
dangerous in the playoffs. I mean, they
So
have
speaking
Justin Jefferson.
right, and then speaking of running game, I like the Browns, dude. Here's the
Yeah,
thing,
but
they keep getting injured, and it sucks because Chubb's out, Ford just got injured. Of course, I played him in fantasy and got wrecked off that 16 8-yard run or whatever it was. But I did pick up Kareem Hunt, and it does fare well that Kareem has already got some good looks, and I like this Browns team. I think this Browns team is going to turn some heads still, continuing going forward.
but
They keep finding if they lose Kareem Hunt as well, then they might be fucked. But I just wanted to kind of just blow through those real quick because I know we're going to spend the rest of the time on this Dolphin Eagles game, which I really think is well deserved to end this podcast episode.
yeah.
I mean, there was a whole I wanted to get through all these other sports, but
Yeah,
whatever.
we went a little
We
long,
went
but
45 minutes on that one topic. So
yeah. But also, when it comes to, and we can squeeze in Colts Browns, we're going to be a separate topic, but obviously we'll just touch on it here. Did you see in that Browns game where Deshaun Watson basically attempted 5 passes? He gets hit and apparently he cleared concussion protocol, but basically just told the team, like, I'm not coming back in. So again, we were talking about him for the past 2, 3 weeks where he'd been medically cleared, and the coaches were basically coming out and being like, we don't know why he's not playing. He just doesn't want to play. And then 5 games into his comeback game, he basically checks out of the game. Diz, we knew this was a bad idea from the beginning because everybody, when that contract was announced, was like, why the fuck are you giving Deshaun Watson that much guaranteed money? And he's obviously a scumbag. I think everybody would agree. Do you think that we have seen the last good Deshaun Watson game as a Brown? I'll say as a Brown.
like as a Brown, yeah. I
Yes.
mean, I think just overall, you won't get you won't get anything better than mediocre.
Yeah. I kind of agree. Like at this point, he's already getting his money. When he's in the game, we've
What money? All
seen
that
one
money is
good
going to be
game.
paying out people.
But we've seen him play one good game as a Brown. The other games he either hasn't played or is left early due to injury. At this point, if you're the Browns, don't you just, with that elite defense, obviously we've seen
You
them
move
plug and
off.
play
You move
different.
off. You
I think
move
so
off.
too. Just sit him on the bench and be like, you robbed us. You want to just sit there and collect your money, like, then do it. And everybody, he's not a sympathetic figure. Nobody's ever going to feel bad for Deshaun Watson, but I feel bad for Browns fans. I don't feel bad for this Browns team because their management was stupid enough to get in bed with a quarterback who every other team was like, why the fuck are you paying him money? But and then the last topic before we got to Dolphins Eagles, I was just going to say, what is, and this will be just a quick one, Casino, what is the team that when they are on TV, you're like, I'm not watching this game? Is there one in the league right now?
Probably the Packers. I have no interest in watching them.
Weird. See, because I like watching Broncos games because I like them losing, but I do think that Broncos Packers game may be the least interesting game of the
I watched the
season.
first couple Packers like games like where just kind of let's see what Love can do, and I'm just like man, Love can't throw
Yeah.
the football downfield, and
No.
I didn't look at his college recruiting videos, but apparently he wasn't able to throw downfield then as well. Like
And
he
it's
just
not
doesn't.
improved at
No,
all.
uh,
Yeah. No, I agree. Packers right now, roughest watch. And you have to feel bad for Packers fans for the first time in 30
I don't
years
have to
not
feel
having a
bad
Hall
for
of
them,
Fame
just like people don't feel
quarterback.
bad for the Patriots, and it's totally fine. I
Yeah.
get no, I totally get it. I mean, they had 2 elite quarterbacks back to back, like, and then the Patriots had a dynasty with Brady playing for 1,600 years. I don't know how long he played, whatever. But, and it's just like where I'm at with the Patriots. Like, I I'm just a Patriots fan that laughs right now, and I'm just embracing, hey, we're going to be bad for a while. Why? Because we were really good for a very long time. I don't feel bad for the Packer fans at all. They had a good time. They enjoyed it. They should have won more, but you know what? Win in the playoffs. You know,
Yeah. But okay, let's now jump
okay.
back
I know
to
because
the
we have you
Dolphins.
have what like 10 minutes maybe.
Yeah, I have to go pick up my son from school. But and then my other kid wouldn't go down for a nap. So kids ruin this podcast. We this has been known from the beginning. You know this is fans of this podcast. Uh but Casino, when it comes to Sunday night football, the Dolphins Eagles, why is it whenever the Eagles beat a team, all of a sudden the media will just start going, oh, clearly the Dolphins were a fraud? When are we going to start just being like, hey, maybe the team that went to the Super Bowl last year is still a pretty good
No, they're
team?
not going to get any recognition. They don't want to give them any recognition. Um, the only thing that I could say this with this go around was, and you pointed it out to me, was penalties where Eagles had 0 and Dolphins had 10. I
Yeah,
mean, that's that's
I hate
pretty
it. Even as
that's
an Eagles
pretty
fan, I
yeah,
hate
that's
it.
pretty outstanding. Like, but that would be the only argument there, but no, because Dolphins are not a sham. They are, but they aren't. They're good with it comes to matchup. This is my take on this, real quick, because I know you're going to rant the hell out of this. So the Dolphins, I think, are a really good team. They're still a good team. Super Bowl contender for sure. They are fast. They have speed. They have weapons. They can slice and dice you every which way you can. However, it's hard to slice and dice a freaking what tungsten cube with a goddamn I don't know, butter knife. I don't know, and I was trying to think of a better way to put that, but
Yeah,
they're
I
they're
mean,
about
great
to
analogy.
place they're about to play some, and they did with the Eagles, very physical teams. I mean, they got the Ravens coming up. They've got teams that are gonna, and it showed versus the Bills. They have teams that are physical and gonna play hard football against them, and they're gonna slow this team down a little bit. Are they still a really high dynamic team? And I feel like this game would have been a lot closer if the penalties weren't one sided. I still had the Eagles to win this game, but because that was 2 touchdowns right there. So I still had the Eagles to win this game, but I thought it was going to be much closer than it was going to be, or that it ended up being. But no, I think the Dolphins are still really good. They're not a sham. Um, Colin Cowherd said it best when I was listening to his show. Is like they are a giant with a glass jaw. Like they are a formidable giant. They are a really good team. But you hit them in the right spot with some power, you're going to make them fumble. You're going to make them wobble a little bit. If you ever watch boxing, you see that good one punch across the chin and they're going to wobble. They're not out of it, but they're still doing this. That's what happens when you have a very strong physical team against a team with speed. You have to find a way to get that speed unhinged, or you got to unhinge it. You got to let it go. You got to get away from all that. Yeah, pretty much
I
that.
do think it'll be
That's where I'm at.
interesting. There's 3 games the Dolphins have left on their schedule where I do think we will get to see if they can hang with other teams that are elite to good. So the 3 teams they are still have on their schedule, they have Dolphins, Chiefs, but it's not this weekend, it's next weekend, but it's in Germany or London at like 6:30 in the morning, which why they would make this game one of those games, I have no fucking idea.
Yeah,
But then they play Cowboys Christmas Eve, and then the week after that, Ravens.
gotcha.
So if they can,
They're going to get some physical teams.
yeah. So, and I think I think Cowboys are physical, Ravens are obviously physical. That Chiefs defense is
So, and speaking of
physical and
defense, this is the last thing I wanted to touch on about the Eagles. The Miami's run game that's helped them tremendously transitioning into their offensive game was gone. Was gone.
yeah.
I That Eagles defense, that run defense, what are the Eagles run defense? They have to be in the top 3.
I believe last time we talked about it, they were the number 1
Yeah,
rush defense in the
they
league, right?
they
Yeah, they still are.
absolutely yeah, they stuffed, not just stuffed, they shoved the ball backwards on that run offense for
So
the
you bringing up
Dolphins.
their
They
rush defense,
crushed it.
the Lions right now are number 2 in the league, allowing 76.3 yards a game in rush yards allowed. The Eagles are number 1, allowing less than 63 yards.
Oof.
So
So
The
good.
second place is allowing 13 more yards than the Eagles are in first place. So again, uh we always talk about when it comes to this Eagles team, they're always built from the inside out. So their offensive line
Hey, I just watched
has
that movie today.
there you go. So their offensive line is probably at this point number 1 or 2 in the league in terms of units, right? They have
Mhm.
and they always have because of Jeff Stoutland and Stoutland University and blah 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 blah. And they always spend high first and second round picks on their O line and their D line because their D line is also, like we just said, the number 1 rush defense in the league.
So
And
good. They're so
the
good. They did it so effortlessly
well,
watching
the
that
way
game.
also they were able to stop this Miami high-powered offense was just getting pressure on Tua. Like Tua is accurate when he has time to pass, but when that flow is interrupted and they get knocked off that timing, like you saw what happened. They just couldn't get the ball to Hill. They couldn't do their explosive plays. And then when he is given time, it was the Darius Slay interception. And also, this game ended 31-17. It could have been 40 if at the end they didn't what is it? They went for or they could have they were like on the 5-yard line and decided to kneel out the game, and then there was a field goal I think they also gave up. But it was like uh, the way the Eagles won this game was just across the board being more physical. I don't think the Dolphins are a sham, but I do think with their running back, Akane, is he out for the season or is he just out for a couple weeks? I think
Not
he's out for
sure.
a couple weeks. But I think when he comes back, they have the ability to run the ball. Their defense is uh good. I don't think they're great, but I don't think the Dolphins are a sham, but can we start giving the Eagles some type of
No.
flowers?
No,
Like,
and not until Jalen Hurts wins the Super Bowl.
yeah,
And even then we'll question.
they're like 6-1, and you listen to people talk about them on television, and they're just like, "Oh, well, they haven't really played a good game. They haven't done all this kind of stuff." And then it's just like, why is that a detriment? They haven't played a good game, and they're 6-1. Why are
Mm.
we talking as if it's like they haven't played a good game, so they're bad? I would much rather not have played a good game and be 6-1 than play 7 great games and be 3-3. Right? It's just like I don't understand that narrative. But again, no one likes us. We don't care. That's basically the Eagles motto for this particular reason.
And then
Uh,
I know you're leaving, so,
do you
talking
want to
about
stay on Casino and talk about
No, I was just gonna see, like, maybe, like, tomorrow early morning or something like that because I have a dental appointment, but if we wanna do, like, a quick, like, 30-minute show on all the other sports, like baseball, hockey,
yeah,
all the other things.
well,
We'll
game
figure it out.
7 is tonight, and I actually had a stat that I wanted to run by you because I saw this and it blew my fucking mind. The
I know that
Phillies
the Phillies at home stat, I know.
Well, the Phillies, no, not just at home. The Phillies, who became a baseball team in 1883 and are playing in their 101st season as a franchise, have never played in a game 7 in their entire
Oh,
history franchise.
that's
Have
fun.
never played in a game 7. So
Alright, I'm gonna win
tonight,
trivia next week, thank you.
there you go. Tonight is the first game 7 the Phillies have ever played in the history of their franchise.
So, they're gonna
I
be
think they
undefeated
will.
in game 7?
All right, and my kid is up. That is my cue.
Bye.
This has been the Only Sports Podcast. I'm Will. That's Casino. Adios.